Fly faster than light, disassemble and reassemble the body, or shoot with a phaser. 55 years after the first Star Trek episode, what remains utopia and what is already reality? Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. The series Star Trek also became a legend because of its memorable intro. The Enterprise first flew over US screens on September 8, 1966. That was 55 years ago. The date is now celebrated as an official Star Trek Day. Various achievements from a fictional 23rd century can already be seen in the first episode broadcast, The Man Trap, or the last of its kind. The physicist and science fiction expert Sascha Vogel in Germany is amazed today at how much of it has already arrived in our world. The individual points are arranged according to the narrative thread of the first episode in this video. So start with a flat screen. Even before the intro, a strange planet can be seen on an oversized screen on the bridge of the Enterprise. That was revolutionary in the 1960s. Today, it's no longer a problem, says Sascha Vogel, who recalls the boom in flat TVs at the 2006 World Cup at home. Megascreens are now standard at concerts or in football stadiums. 1 year after the US broadcast of The Man Trap, then Vice Chancellor Willy Brandt in Germany gave the go-ahead for color television in West Germany in 1967. In other words, if televisions were in German living rooms at that time, they were unwieldy tube devices. Then there's beaming. Next, the crew beams to the planet that can be seen on the flat screen. What is meant is a type of teleportation in which the body is broken down into its individual parts and reassembled at the destination. We have two fundamental problems here, explains Vogel. On the one hand, the body consists of a huge number of atoms that have to be transported as a quantity of information. And on the other hand, he says, it just doesn't work. There is no effect that destroys a particle and makes it reappear in another place. Then we have shape-shifting. Just remember Odo. On the planet, the outside crew around Captain Kirk and ship's Dr. Leonard McCoy encounter an alien creature that can adapt its appearance to the preferences of the respective observer. It works digitally without any problems, says physicist Vogel, referring to so-called deepfakes, in which people can put on faces that are deceptively real. In the real world, however, according to the physicist, this is not possible for two reasons. First, thoughts have to be read in order to know what the other person wants. And then the being would have to generate different masses and proportions when transforming into different people. Then there's a tricorder. McCoy examines an inhabitant of the planet with a portable, multifunctional console that can also be used as a medical instrument. That doesn't quite exist yet, but it's only a matter of time, says Vogel. Examples are modern smartwatches that can measure body functions such as the pulse. The telemedicine already used in Star Trek is also an interesting thing according to the physicist, because there patient data is sent from the mobile device to the ship's computer. And it sounds a bit familiar now. Then there are the communicators. Then Captain Kirk pulls out an item that today's standard resembles a flip phone. The crew was able to communicate with one another with this communicator. In this specific case, someone in the Enterprise's transporter room is instructed to beam up 3 people. In the 1960s, that was still a utopia. Today, almost everybody has a mobile phone. So you can tick that one off, says Vogel. The golden era of smartphones even started with a model of the same name. The Nokia 9000 communicator went on sale in 1996, almost exactly 30 years after the first Star Trek episode was broadcast. Then there are environmental sensors. Captain Kirk walks through a door that opens and closes automatically. While in the 1960s it still had to be tricked, a similar technique can now be found at the entrance of almost every supermarket. It was revolutionary back then. Today, individual components for this, such as the motion detector, are inexpensive. In the series, Kirk also instructs in the elevator that he wants to go to the bridge. This technology already exists, says the physicist, and calls it voice control, such as Apple Siri or Amazon's Alexa. And then we have phasers. Although the phaser weapons dangling from Kirk and Co.'s belt keep coming into the picture, it's not a crew member who fires the first shot later. Professor Crater, who lives with the shapeshifter creature on the planet, fires a warning shot, destroying ruins on the surface. Are such mini laser weapons already feasible? Given the small size, that would be a huge energy problem, explains Vogel, referring to the gigantic laser weapons used by the US Navy. McCoy and Kirk take out Professor Crater with a simple trick. One distracts him, the other puts him out of action with one shot. The phaser on stun, as it is called again and again on Star Trek. Is that possible? This is not yet feasible with a laser, says Vogel. However, he mentions the possibility of the tasers used by the police, for example, which target persons and can switch them off with electrical impulses. Then, in the episode, there was a truth serum. Once in orbit on the Enterprise, a truth serum is to be administered to Crater. The goal is to reveal the apparition behind the shape-shifting creature. Even the term sounds like hocus pocus, and according to Sascha Vogel, it is. There is no substance that lets you tell the truth spontaneously, explains the expert. In our world, however, there are substances and means that cloud perception and lead to testifying in the twilight state. Vogel names the drug LSD or anesthetic thiopental, which has already been used during interrogations as examples. And then we have the warp drive. Shortly before the end of the first episode, Kirk gives the order to go to warp 1 in order to leave the orbit of the planet. The Star Trek Wiki Memory Alpha defines warp as the speed of lightning, and according to Vogel, it's currently unthinkable that a spaceship could accelerate like this. He refers to Einstein's theory of relativity. It is therefore not possible to be faster than light, he says, although we all know nowadays that warp drive works differently. The ship is not going faster than light. It is, what do you call it in English? It's curving space, and so making the distance smaller, the way I understood warp drive so far. I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.